Dr. Lawrence Shu Nan is a Green MP who has lived in New Zealand for 32 years. That is more than 80% of his life. But on July 29, 2026, during a parliamentary debate, Foreign Minister Winston told Dr. Shu Nan to, quote, "go back to your own country." He then mocked him, saying that's where people lie like a flatfish. The country's top diplomat used the very floor of Parliament to strip a naturalized Peters. Instead, in the very same breath, he pivots to a campaign pitch, telling voters to party vote national to get 100% National Party ministers at the cabinet table. The government chose not to enforce basic accountability. By keeping Peters in cabinet, they effectively laundered a racist attack on a fellow MP into a fundraising pitch. This timeline plots a political script dating back to 1996. From the Asian invasion campaign 30 years ago, right through to the attack on Dr. Shu Nan, this rhetoric appears like clockwork, and it is an expanding playbook. Recently, New Zealand First Deputy Leader Shane Jones bellowed about sending the Mexicans home and warned of a butter chicken tsunami in response to an Indian trade deal. The strategy works by monetizing outrage. By repeatedly targeting migrant communities, politicians capture a specific, highly reliable slice of the electorate who respond to that grievance. The ruling coalition treats this repeating pattern as a successful, tolerated mechanism to generate headlines and consolidate power. Imagine a U.S. Secretary of State or a British Foreign Secretary telling a sitting representative to go back to their own country on the floor of the legislature. They would lose their position immediately. In New Zealand, the foreign minister kept his job, even after the Chinese embassy issued a formal diplomatic complaint. This creates a massive risk to a trading relationship worth $41 billion a year, managed by the very minister launching the insults. Beyond trade, it is a matter of international law. For 54 years, New Zealand has been bound by the ICER Treaty, which explicitly obligates public authorities to prevent the incitement of racial discrimination. Prioritizing the survival of a fragile domestic coalition over international law and multi-billion-dollar trade ties is a catastrophic failure of governance on the world stage. We can also measure this failure through Te Ao Māori. Under Tikanga, belonging and standing are built through contribution and time, like Dr. Shu Nan's 32 years in the community. They are not dictated by the mood of a political gatekeeper. The government's reluctant, delayed response represents a collapse of Manaakitanga at the institutional level. It is an abandonment of the obligation to protect and uplift the vulnerable. It is also a direct failure of Kaitiakitanga. A political strategy that profits from racial division deliberately poisons the social fabric we hand down to the next generation. By declaring that 32 years of life here count for nothing, the minister employs the same logic once used to delegitimize Maori standing in their own whenua, where connection to the land is erased by the whim of the crown. It is time to stop excusing this behavior as colorful politics. We need to identify it for what it truly is, a manufactured grievance economy. Addressing this requires structural reform. We need an independent parliamentary standards commissioner to bypass the system of party self-policing that allows these tactics to thrive. You can take action by supporting the truth tellers actively tracking this disinformation. Consider subscribing or giving a koha to the Maori Green Lantern to keep this critical reporting alive. Aotearoa's future depends on everyday people demanding the accountability that our current political and corporate structures simply refuse to provide.